Welcome to another episode of The Edge Whitetails. I'm Eric Johnston. Thanks so much for tuning in. November 1st, evening hunt. Here we go. All right, welcome back. I am headed in November 1st. It was a beautiful, beautiful day today. I think it's right around the low 50s. Real light southeast wind. Wasn't able to hunt this morning. Had to get work done. That way I can work things out to be out here on the evening hunts. This property is way easier to hunt in the evening, but throughout the weekend I will be getting out on the mornings as well. Would have loved to have been out there this morning. It was a perfectly frosty, cold, good moving morning. Be interested to see what the cameras have to show with what went on while I wasn't in here. But headed in, I'm going to go to the south stand where I killed my buck last year. I think it's time to get in there, sit that. I got a biologic radish field just off to my west on that deal. And then a little bit further west is what I've been calling the 5-acre patch, where the bean field had flooded out and we put final forage in there. So while it's not the most lush final forage field, still a lot of it came up. Pretty good bulbs in there. Definitely an attraction for them. Something else as well. Got a southeast wind. It's going to be carrying it right out towards the field from where I believe the deer are going to go. Cornfield to the south. You saw me kill that doe on the very south end last weekend. This stands a little bit further up, and I just feel like it's going to be a good setup along the creek tonight. Follow along. We're going to go in. It's November 1st. It's always great turning that calendar to November 1st as a bow hunter. As long as you're ready, which I always am. We're going to head in there and follow along and see what happens. All right. Working my way down along the south. And like I said in previous videos, what I love about going down along the south edge in the evening is, well, for one, I've got the wind in my face tonight, but I'm staying in the shadows here, just easing along, and I'm going to cut right in just like I did last year on my hunt, which was November 2nd. Today's November 1st, but November 2nd last year, went in and killed that, what we were calling the Big Ten. So we're after a buck right now called the Split G2, and I haven't had him for a while on the cameras. Honestly, it's been kind of bugging me, but the last time I did have him was down here on the south end. So I think it's a good bet for tonight. Rolling our way in. Now, as you can see, that's the plot that I was calling the 5-acre patch. And as I said a couple weeks ago when Delana and I were putting these signs out, at first I thought it was a total failure. But as you can see now, there's a lot of forage out there, so it's looking really good. I'm actually quite pleased for what it turned out to be after thinking there really wasn't going to be anything there. So all in all, really good. Happy with that. Lots of food there, especially as we get towards snowfalls and snowpack and all that unpleasant stuff. So I'm making my last little jaunt into the stand now. And this is just a small trail that I kept mowed. And as you can see, the wildlife really use it. And it just gives me super, super quiet access through that kind of stuff. So, all in all, as I've said before, that one video is called Mowing Your Way to Whitetail Success. Check it out if you want to know more about mowing. I think you have to go back to like May, June, somewhere in there. But it really helps out. And it shows you just how lazy the wildlife is when they start using it as well. Unfortunately, this one doesn't look as good, but for as dry as we were and the drought we had, I'll take it. It's all biologic deer radish. It did what it could in here, and there's still some forage. So. Alright, we've made our way to the stand, and everything looks pretty good in here. Haven't really poked around in here much, but my wind is blowing right up the creek, which is pretty good shape, I feel. We're going to try and catch the deer that should be coming from the northeast of here and working towards the south to the cornfield, or coming right at us to go out to those greens. Either way, it should be a good setup with the wind blowing this way and the deer coming this way. So we're going to settle in, and it got a little warmer today than I thought it would, but I probably didn't need this extra coat, but I didn't sweat or nothing. Get in here. It's pretty easy hunt to get in, pretty easy setup. So I'm gonna settle in here for a while, and hopefully we bring you some action on this November 1st, 2024. Alright, so I've been in the stand probably about an hour now, and really haven't seen much action. Lots of different birds. You see a lot of different birds along the river, which is pretty cool. But I told you before that my wind is blowing right up the creek. Now what I like about that is the creek is basically running straight north. And the reason I like that so much, I want to show you just how diverse we're getting the property built up. So I'm going to flip the camera. So right out in there, and all up along that runs about 400 yards or so, is all like canary grass, a little bit of switchgrass, and river birch trees. And the deer will bed up in those quite a bit too, especially on these warmer days like this. They'll bed more out. It's not open by any means, but more on the fringe. And because it's plenty thick in there during shed season, a lot of walking in there, but we have opened a few trails in there. But the reason I like that blowing right up the creek like that is there is a good possibility that deer could be bedded right in those river birch right there and work their way down this way too. So it's kind of hard to know which direction to really be watching, especially when with that moisture the other day, the woods are still pretty quiet. So it helps a little bit that there's not much wind today, but just something to keep in mind. I just kind of wanted to show you just how diverse we're making the property, and that's what really attracts a lot of deer in here is the diversity and the different forms of cover, browse, etc. As I've said before, 85% of a deer's diet is browse. You got to have good browse in the property. You can have the greatest food plots, but if you don't have that browse, it's not going to be as attractive. That browse helps because when they bed during the day, they'll get up every once in a while, munch on some stuff, lay back down. They don't bed the entire day. A whitetail deer actually has to feed 5 different times in a 24-hour period. So they'll get up, move around, browse a little bit, lay back down. So that's one of the reasons I've been really focused on building the habitat down here and why I work so hard at it. So anyway, just a little tidbit there to pass the time. And we still got a long ways before that sun goes down. So I still feel like we're going to have some action tonight. After all, it is November 1st, although it's warmed up more than I ever thought it would today. But I think it's actually cooler than I have in my head. I just have on, I don't have on heavy clothes by any means, but they're plenty warm in that Nomad gear. So, and I must say that mossy oak blends in good. Shameless plug. All right. I hope I bring you some action now after I did all that talking. So like last year, back in the woods back in there, I would spot flashes of deer chasing a doe around, and eventually they worked their way down here. And then I ultimately got a shot on my target buck and got him. I just started picking up flashes of deer up in there, and I can't even tell what they are, so didn't even try to get them on the camera. It's such a jungle up in there. You'll get flickers here, flickers there, so I'm going to do my best and stay focused here and see if I can bring you deer once they come out into visible actual area. But I just noticed them darting back and forth in there, so could be something chasing, could be fawns playing around. It's hard to say, but I'm going to stay focused here, and it'd be super cool if it worked out just like last year, but it's deer hunting. There's no such thing as always and never. So hang with me here. I'm going to hopefully get you some action. This is a hard tree to get, when they're close, to get them coming. So hang with me. It's just so hard to focus on one back there. I just spotted a doe, and they're just milling around back there and browsing and stuff, much like I talked about with the habitat diversity. But I feel like there's well more than one deer, and I spotted just the one that I could fully make out what it was a doe. But I know I seen something bigger back there too. I know that sounds like a fishtail, but no, turn that. I just can't get her. Well, we'll have better opportunities yet. Hang with me. I just can't get him on camera. That's actually a pretty decent buck back there. I don't know if it's a shooter, but he actually came from the southeast. I thought there might be two over there, but I'm not sure. I feel bad I can't get these on camera, but man, trying to get through those trees is something else. So as he walked away, I still couldn't get it on camera, but I could tell he was not a shooter, but a nice buck, not a shooter. But he yourself, it's like, man, maybe I should have been up on the food plot. Well, you just never know. So we have a lot of time left, as you can tell with the daylight behind me yet. So that's been quite a few deer so far, but nothing for you guys to see. So it's pretty interesting. I haven't seen any deer for, probably 20 minutes or so now. But every time I tried to get them on camera, I couldn't get them and they would flicker in between the trees. And I thought, man, I'm not going to have a bunch of footage with nothing to add into this. So I did have a doe up to the north that everything I seen, and that's what's so interesting to me, everything I seen at night headed to the heart of the property, headed north. I anticipated them coming from the northeast, basically, like I said in the beginning of the video, and going to the cut cornfield on the neighbors to the south. But that hasn't been the case. Everything I've seen has come from the south or just milled around back there. There's like some high spots. You can call them ridges, but they're like humps. And on especially nice days, deer will bed on those back there. And then they'll just get up, mill around, and work their way whichever way they want to go. I anticipated them going south. They went north tonight, so probably full on the food plot tonight. But that is one thing I'm going to go ahead and touch on, like I talked about earlier with habitat diversity. A whitetail deer does need to feed 5 different times a day. And what a lot of people don't realize, you have your 2 main feedings. Morning hours, evening hours. But throughout the day, periodically, they'll get up, move around a little bit, not get very far from their bedding area, browse on the available cover, and then settle back in. And that's why that habitat diversity is so, so important. We've got about a half hour left, as you see the sun dipping below the horizon there. So I'm not going to wrap it up yet. I thought about it, but I'm not going to. I think just maybe I can actually get a visual deer other than maybe a flicker here or a butt there on video for you, so I'm not going to quite wrap it up. Well, I seen 2 more deer that I just couldn't get them on camera. This stand is very hard unless they're right here. And tonight they weren't right here. You ever feel like you missed out on a party that everybody else was invited to and you never got an invite? Something in my mind right now is telling me that party's going on up by the food plot, but I have a tendency to spin things up anyway, so probably overthinking that, but I think I missed out on the whitetail party tonight. As much flickering and darting back and forth in them trees and then everything heading to the north. I think I missed the boat there. It was almost basically a flip of a coin. I sat at the food plot last night and I thought, well, I want to try this out. And something was nagging at me to go to the food plot. I still probably should have went, but I tell you what, it's fun either way. I'm sorry you all didn't get to see a bunch of deer tonight. I did. That's terrible for you guys, but on those days where I can't get good footage or there's not much movement, I'm really trying to add some knowledge or advice or whatever you want to call it. This is season 31. Season 31 for me, bow hunting. Actually deer hunted longer than that. Took 20 gauge shotgun in 93. So this is season 31, 30 years. 94 was my first year bowhunting, but I like to try and pass along anything I've learned or whatnot, and that's part of what this channel's all about, and y'all watching me. Pass it on to my daughter. Oh, I might actually get a deer on camera for you, and it's a buck. Well, that buck, definitely not what we're looking for. I mean, he's a nice buck, don't get me wrong, but just a perfect 8, wide as his ears. Probably a touch smaller than that one I passed a little over a week ago, so pretty cool. I actually got deer on film for you tonight. That was probably, deer 7 or 8, and finally got one on camera. Pretty good one, honestly, but he did slide by me, and as I said, the wind's blowing southeast, and he did catch a little bit of our wind. He didn't blow or nothing. He just kind of got nervous, and he also headed off to the north. So anyway, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up for November 1st. If I do see anything else, I'll add it on, but we're running out of light fast. Even the footage of that buck's probably grainy, so I'll be back at it right away in the morning. And if you would, hit that subscribe button, notification bell, never miss an episode of The Edge Whitetails. And for The Edge Whitetails, I'm Eric Johnston, and remember to always get outdoors.